So there are two finalists for the Taylor Award and a winner, and we'll start with the two finalists. In two investigative reports for Chicago Magazine, David Bernstein and Noah Isaacson exposed how the Chicago Police Department purposely took steps to undercount or downgrade crimes, including homicides, to improve crime rate statistics and make the city appear safer. The stories have started to spur reforms, and the Chicago Police Department has changed the status of some of the death cases the reporters highlighted. Taylor Judge Chris Hundley noted, "This series addressed a basic tenet of fairness. You can rely on numbers because numbers don't lie. These stories showed that wasn't the case in Chicago." David and Noah are on deadline, so they can't be here today, but we send them and the Chicago Magazine our congratulations. Our second finalist is Boston Globe reporter Jenna Russell, who is with us this afternoon. She spent 18 months with Michael Bourne and his widowed mother to record his battle with chronic mental illness. Russell's three-part series is a carefully detailed portrait of one family's struggle to cope in a flawed healthcare system. Taylor Judge Kendall Taggart said of Jenna's stories, "The intimate and compelling series details how the public services for coping with mental illness failed to help Michael and his family find normalcy. The series provided a tremendous public service, vividly conveying a struggle faced by 1 in 4 American families." Please join me in congratulating Jenna Russell. And now for the winners of the Taylor Award. In red light cameras, Chicago Tribune reporters David Kidwell and Alex Richards uncovered how the city of Chicago collected money through automated red light camera fines in a program plagued by lies, deception, and schemes. As a result of the reporting, federal authorities last year issued bribery indictments against the program's City Hall overseer and others. Mayor Rahm Emanuel fired the vendor and ordered dozens of traffic monitoring cameras taken offline. Commenting on red lights, Taylor Judge Ellen Gabler said, "Tribune reporters fought City Hall for data that the reporters would later analyze to reveal the unfair practices, and also made the data searchable so motorists could see if they had been unjustly slapped with a fine. The Chicago Tribune told a fair story that got results." David and Alex will talk briefly about their work in a minute, but please join me in congratulating them on their Taylor Award.
Thank you very much. I guess I want to start by saying how gratifying it is to get an award for fairness. I don't know how many of you are investigative reporters in here, but I can tell you from experience that as hard as we may try, after our stories run, that's the last call we get. "Wow, you were so fair." So it's thanks a lot for that. It's really great to get this award. Chicago's red light camera program began in 2002 with 2 cameras, and over the course of the next decade grew to almost 400 cameras, the largest program in the world. It catapulted Red Flex Traffic Systems, the company that the city hired to do the cameras, onto the map and made them the dominant force in the industry throughout the country. The program was touted as the model program of efficiency. It was saving lives and keeping Chicago safe, and at the same time generating hundreds of millions of dollars in traffic fines. And if you think about that on its face is a little bit confusing, because I cannot imagine that millions of people are running red lights. It's show of hands. How many people in here consciously just blow through red lights? So on its face, we were confused about that. But as it turns out, it was all based on a lie. Our reporting showed, and federal prosecutors have now charged that what was happening was the guy at City Hall who was most responsible for bringing the program and growing it over that decade was literally has been now charged with taking a certain amount of money for every camera that he got installed. And to this day, the city of Chicago cannot explain how they chose where to put the cameras or why they put them there in the first place. They could not define a problem. I got involved in this when Mayor Rahm Emanuel took office. He inherited the program. But on the campaign trail and in his first days in office, he was using this enormously successful record of the red light camera program to expand it into a new program for speed cameras. So they were using these statistics. I think one of the things that he told me in my interview with him back in 2011, where really got me started on the story, was that there had been a 60% reduction in fatalities at red light cameras throughout the city of Chicago. And he challenged me to disprove that number. And 3 weeks later in the newspaper, we did. It just wasn't true. It was based on a study that didn't exist. And since then, there have been a number of claims made about safety that we have shown and the statistics have shown were just not true. They're bogus. At every corner we've turned on this story, we found another example where the people in the city of Chicago were told things that aren't true about the program. We decided after the bribery stories, after we managed to write the stories about how the city hall guy who was in charge of bringing these things was bringing them under false pretenses, we decided, you know what, if the contract is that corrupt, what about the program itself? Let's look at these claims. And that's when we decided to go to battle with the city to get the database of more than 4 million tickets and examine them and figure out, was the program being run effectively? Was it being overseen positively? And we found examples, and as Alex will explain it, that where tickets were just out of control. They were enforcing different things on different days, and so this program from the day one has been the namesake of unfairness, and so we've been very happy to spend the last 3 years making that case.
Well, yeah, and again, I just want to reiterate what an honor it is to receive this award. It's just really unexpected and huge, and fortunately for me, it wasn't 3 years. That was more David. I sort of came in at the point when, in the reporting where we were trying to get the ticket data, and there wasn't a really strongly charted course for something like this. Chicago has the largest red light camera program in the nation, so there hadn't been a lot of similar reporting done that was trying to get such a massive data set of tickets. Not just that, but also information, an analysis process to, figure out how to try to prove that things were amiss in the program. So we sort of tackled it from 2 angles. One was looking at the actual volume of tickets, and we were able to sort of plot what we ended up calling in-house an EKG that mapped out how many tickets were issued by day for years on end. And we started seeing these crazy, outlandish spikes. Cameras that had been issuing maybe 1 ticket a day, 5 tickets a day, were suddenly issuing 50 tickets a day, hundreds of tickets a day. And that gets right at the issue of fairness. Because the issue of running a red light, it's not such a black and white thing, but if you change the rules on people, then that completely defeats the purpose of what these automated enforcement programs are trying to accomplish. So that was one area we looked at. The other one was safety, and that was one of the other big missing pieces in this whole debate. We'd heard a statistic over and over from the Emanuel administration, and you would think after David had debunked so many stats of theirs in newsprint, month after month, they would just stop. That was not the case. Up until the end, they were holding on to this safety statistic that red light cameras prevented something like 47% of dangerous T-bone injury crashes in the city of Chicago. Well, they were using state crash data to arrive at this conclusion. And that state data, they changed the threshold for reporting accidents in 2009. So a big portion of that entire decline was just the way that the data was kept. So it was things like that that we were repeatedly coming up against in this process. But we were able to show, with the help of experts at the University of Texas, that the safety claims were vastly overblown, and in some cases it was actually the reverse. These things, the way that the program, I actually believe could work if instituted properly, it just was very clear that it was not. So, thank you.